The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost, the bank account that is built for bettors. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN and get a free Refs Are Terrorists t-shirt where you can claim your shirt at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/refs. And welcome in to the college baseball experience. Myself, Noah Bieniek, joined alongside by Johnny Venezia as we have the Omaha 8. There is a field of 8 teams that will be playing beginning on Friday for 10 to 11 days in Omaha in the College World Series. Johnny, overarching thoughts from the Super Regional. What did you think of the 8 series that we saw with the teams that are now playing for a national championship?
I thought they were pretty good, honestly. You take a look at some of these teams, and I think overall, most of the series went how I expected. I got to say, I think I didn't really say shocked, but Murray State, man, look at those racers, the little engine that could. Cinderella,
plus 290, baby.
Plus 290. I don't know where you got it. I got plus 340. Murray State coming through for the boys once again. They've been a plus money darling the entire month of June. And, I think they were like 14-1 to win a very difficult Oxford Regional with Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, Western Kentucky. And then they go on the road and they beat Duke. They hang a 19 spot on them on Saturday. And Game 3 Sunday against Duke, the total was set at 16.5 at the open. And they got it done winning 5-4. Their pitching came through for them. There was a couple big moments in that game where Duke had an opportunity to take the lead or put up a crooked number, and their pitching stepped up. And, I think Murray State
was big in both games getting saves. Kellum was big.
Murray State, man, that was definitely something that was probably the most surprising. Otherwise, I think some of the picks I picked against UCLA again, just because I'm kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. UTSA is definitely a tough team. Like, they're a live dog for sure. But I think it's fair to say the Roadrunners were probably one of the easiest paths for the team that's in Omaha, considering what the field had to play against. I picked Tennessee over Arkansas just to stick with the preseason pick. I'm not surprised Arkansas won. They're at home. They're favorite. They've played a lot better than Tennessee has in the second half of the year. Otherwise, I think I hit Oregon State against FSU in a tight series. I hit Coastal against Auburn. I really like that one. I had who else did I have? LSU to beat West Virginia, even though I didn't put out a bet just because it was like an insane price to beat West Virginia. I also had, let me go back to the trusty book here. I had Louisville to beat Miami. And I really only had 5 super regional bets based on price. Like UNC, I had going to the College World Series from that side of the bracket. Arizona, they were able to pull off 2 highway robberies in game 2 and 3. I guess that's probably the biggest disappointment of last week. That was a total choke job by UNC. It's terrible too, because that was the more winnable side. That was the wide open side. That was their path was laid out in gold for them. Yeah. They absolutely just destroy Zona game 1, 18-2. And then the second game they were down, and you have Tyson Bass hit a huge 3-run homer in the 7th inning, take the lead, and then immediately they turn around and give the lead back. They lose game 2, where they had an opportunity to take another late lead. Tony Pluto, I think the top of the 8th, he got out of a bases loaded jam, I think, if memory serves correctly, and then shut him down for the 9th. And then in game 3, kind of the same thing. They were leading for 2/3 of the game. Ryan Lynch, freshman, had an amazing start, and that was a big gamble. Like, I didn't personally agree with from Scott Forbes to throw DeCaro game 2 to start. Didn't really pitch that well. And then he brings in Aiden Hawk. He burned him, knowing, hey, we're going to go with Lynch, who's been a midweek starter. He's been great for us. but we're going to give the season on the line to this kid. And he answered the bell. He had a great start. I think it was 7 innings, 1 earned.
Yep.
And then their bullpen, which has been pretty good this year, blew the game for him. And, like, by the way, something that we talked about, like, my one critique of UNC's pitching staff was, like, the bullpen last year was so good. They had those high leverage arms. They had Dalton Pence. Matthew Mateus
Yep.
was –
He got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. He missed most of the year, second half of the year. So that was obviously a big loss for them. But they didn't really have that guy this year. Like, Walker McDuffie
was fine.
Walker McDuffie had a pretty good season. But, like, as a freshman in that spot, that's tough to rely on. But even still, like, they didn't have another guy that I felt comfortable saying, hey, like, he shut down. They had a collection of good bullpen arms, but I think that was really their biggest weakness all year. And it was terrible to see them lose. And they blew 2 leads. And game 3, it just looked like, hey, this is it for UNC, that they're going to be able to get past it. And, you know, if they were able to get past it, I mean, yeah, you faced Coastal game 1, but it's still a winnable side for them. And to me, that was easily the biggest disappointment of the Super Regionals.
You talked about kind of the strength of, you know, getting to Omaha, where you mentioned North Carolina's path was kind of favorable, and also Murray State kind of playing a really tough path. A graphic that was put up by Para Ratings, he's been doing pretty good work this year. A newer account that I have just come across this season. He put out, like, the strength of their path to get to Omaha. Murray State's number 1 in difficulty. Then you've got the 4 teams on the left side of the bracket where it's kind of a little bit wide open, where I think any of those 4 could really get out of that left side of the bracket there. And then LSU's down at the bottom because of the 3 games against Little Rock. And then you've got UCLA and Arkansas, was it 6th and 7th there. So my biggest takeaway from the weekend, I mean, it's Wednesday. My brain is like mush after doing the whole Omaha networking thing today. My biggest takeaway from the weekend was just how business-like Coastal Carolina was at Auburn. That first game, it went to extras, but Coastal was leading it basically the entire way. And then game 2, Auburn's up 1-0 through like the first 6 innings. And all of a sudden, Coastal Carolina was able to tip away in like the 7th and 8th inning to scratch across, I think it was 4 runs in that game too. And the Chanticleers, they look like they've got a very well-balanced team that could do some damage here in Omaha. I liked what Murray State did. You talked about Murray State. I was actually impressed with West Virginia going 2-barbecue in Baton Rouge. Worst start of the season for Cade Anderson. Worst start of the season for Anthony Ianson. Yet LSU's offense picked up the slack, and they took care of West Virginia's pitching. Kartsonis had a little bit of a sickness going on there. Also, speaking of sickness and not pitching very well, Wes Mendez got rocked in the first inning against Oregon State. I had the Seminoles. Not only I picked them to win that series, but I had a bet on them to get to Omaha. And they came up 1 game short, but I am very impressed with this Oregon State team. Before we get into bracket picks and specifically handicapping and trying to predict and project what the paths will be, that's what this episode is going to be, because Thursday night we will do Friday picks. Friday night we'll do Saturday picks and also recap the Friday games. Saturday night we will do a recap of the Saturday games, picking Sunday all the way throughout Omaha. This will be your destination for betting picks daily in the College World Series. But first, I want to tell you guys that you can get a bunch of free picks and podcasts for the Stanley Cup, College World Series, NBA Finals right now at the SGPN app. Go over there, download it wherever you get your apps, whether it's the Google Play Store, Apple App Store, what have you. And also, Edge Boost is the first ever bank account that is built for bettors, ensuring that all gambling transactions are approved There are no usage fees, no minimums. You can earn cash back rewards today and a 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN. It is the last week to sign up and get a free Refs Are Terrorists t-shirt. Go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/refs to claim your free shirt today. And we have teamed up with Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas as they are giving away the ultimate fantasy football experience for a 12-person league to draft in Vegas and be treated like VIPs during the stay. You will get a limo ride from the airport, a $5,000 tab for Stadium Swim, and a hotel stay for you and your 11 league mates. You can always get 15% off at all Circa properties with the promo code SGP15. Enter the Ultimate Fantasy Football Contest today for free at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. That is sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. And we are back here on the college baseball experience for the College World Series preview and betting futures episode. Here's how we're going to structure this, because I have had very little time with packing, trying to catch up on sleep, and then getting out here in Omaha. The first day has been very hectic. I don't even have a hotel room yet. Shout out to Ben Upton's brother, Will Upton, for allowing me to record this show in his hotel room. Johnny, the way we're going to do this is we're going to attack it by bracket by bracket. So the left-hand side of the bracket, these games are beginning on day one of the College World Series on Friday. We have Arizona State playing Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is the favorite to win the national championship out of the left-hand side bracket at plus 600. Arizona is 14-1. Oregon State's plus 650. They will play Louisville in the nightcap, and they are 17-1 to play for and win the national championship. Johnny, how do you see these four teams duking it out this weekend and into next week? Who's the team that you think emerges out of this bracket? Who do you think will be the runner-up in that?
Dude, it's just toss-ups. Both games are toss-ups. Any combination of games on this side of the bracket is basically a coin flip. Yep. It really is. And from a futures betting perspective, it's hard because there's value on all four teams from bracket one to win the College World Series. You got Coastal and Oregon State are leading the way at like 6-1, 6.5-1. Arizona 14-1. To me, that's a little bit too big. Louisville currently, let me check real quick, is 16-1.
17-1 on DK.
Yeah, so the big way to break this down is really kind of go game by game, because starting 1-0 is huge, because really there's maybe 2 or 3 teams out of the 8 that have the pitching depth to dig their way out of an 0-1 hole. When you look at Oregon State, Louisville, here's why this is difficult. So Louisville is going to go Patrick Forbes. We know Patrick Forbes is first round stuff. We've seen Forbes be dominant first week of the season. 11 strikeouts against Texas. He was really good against East Tennessee State, who has a great offense. He was pretty solid against Miami last weekend.
He was loading there was traffic on the base paths the entire day, and he did well.
Yes, exactly. So the thing is, he's like finally healthy for the first time all year, like fully healthy, or at least since the early part of the season. When Forbes is on, he's damn near unhittable. If he doesn't walk guys and his stuff is on, he can go 6 shutty.
And another thing too is Matt Klein behind the plate. He was out for the final 2.5 months due to injury. He's a senior catcher who, they practice with the pitchers practice with him throughout the fall and winter. He knows that staff and what they like to call in different scenarios. And now that he's behind the plate and calling games again, his pitching staff has been really good in the NCAA tournament in their 6 games that they've played.
So
keep going, though.
When, like I said, when Forbes is on and his stuff's good and he's not walking people, because that's usually what's gotten him into trouble this year when he's pitched, he can shut down any lineup. I mean, it is that good. It's a high 90s fastball. It's a really sharp breaking ball. He will pitch you in. He will pitch you up, down, away, wherever he wants to put the ball, he can put the ball. The issue comes is if he gets chased early and now it becomes a game where the bullpen's got to step up and go multiple innings, that's where you run into trouble. Oregon State's lineup, and this was the critique I had of Oregon State for most of the year, because this is a team that I bet on early in the season. This is a team that I'm like, listen, they have talent. There's a lot of high-octane players. But for most of the year, at least from what I saw, at least in the early part of the year, in truth, like I wasn't able to watch that much Oregon State throughout the year as I wanted to, just because of the streaming issues that I had or had to get a subscription that I wasn't buying another subscription to. They were very reliant on 3 bats all year. Abe Arquette, who has been his transfer from Washington was huge. Like, he made a huge leap. This is a kid who very well might be the first college bat off the board this summer. Gavin Turley, I think Gavin Turley followed me on Twitter. I put it in our group chat. Nobody responded. If it is the Gavin Turley, I appreciate the follow. Gavin Turley's had a great year as well. So, like, really, it's been Arquette and Turley as the bread and butter for the whole season. Wilson Weber's had a very nice year. But the guy that really didn't do well for most of the season, and I don't know if it was injury-related or what the issue was draft-eligible sophomore who I thought was probably going to be a first-rounder this year in Trent Caraway. He had a rough year, but we talked about this coming into the tournament. That's their X factor. If Caraway is able to beat Trent Caraway, it's going to be a really tough out for opposing pitchers. And he's hit 6 home runs in just this postseason alone. He had 6 home runs coming into the postseason, and now he matched that total in just these last few weeks. So 12 on.
He had 5 in the first 5 games.
He's been on fire. So if it's those 4 guys, and then maybe you have 1 or 2 other guys come up with a big hit here or there, it's a really dangerous lineup. Whereas you have Oregon State's pitching, which really embodied the high octane, like high variance. Dax Whitney had struggles early in the year as a freshman. Like, this is a guy who's very well probably going to be the first arm off the board in 2027. Like, legit, ridiculous, disgusting stuff Dax Whitney has. He's really found it the last 4 starts. They've moved him into the Friday role. He's performed incredibly well. Like, the stuff is off the charts for Dax Whitney. He did an amazing job against a very dangerous Florida State lineup in the Supers. So you have him going. Ethan Kleinschmidt's been great all year. He's been the Sunday guy, and they bumped him up to the Saturday role. He had a great start. He matched Jamie Arnold, and, he's done really well lately. So, like, that 1-2 punch has really become dangerous. And also, like, Oregon State's got a handful of bullpen arms that are trusted in high leverage situations. Like, I'd say they have about 3 or 4 guys that they can go to, whether it's Queen or it's Palmer or it's Oaks. So that's really what helps. And, like, when those guys are on, that's really what makes them dangerous. But it's when they have those off starts, like, can somebody else step up, is where I have the questions. So now if you're Dax Whitney, you're going against a Louisville lineup that really is underrated. I mean, they hit for power, or they hit for average, they hit for some power, and they run you out of the building. They have 155 steals. But it's not just what they do when they get on the bases in terms of steals. This team will apply pressure nonstop. They'll take the extra 90 feet any chance they get. They'll play small ball. Pretty much every guy in this lineup can bunt, squeeze play, suicide squeeze, bunt the runner over. And they have a couple boppers. I mean, they got Eddie King Jr., who's had a fantastic year. You got Zion Rose, Lucas Moore, he's pushing 50 steals this year. It's like, it's ridiculous. So, like, that's where this matchup is tough. Ultimately, I think Oregon State's minus 160 here. And I know we're going to get into the game breakdown tomorrow. But the fact is, I like Dax Whitney more than Patrick Forbes. I think stuff-wise, they're comparable. but I just really like the string Dax Whitney's been on. He's faced the tougher offenses as of late. Louisville, East Tennessee State is definitely a tough offense for sure, but it's not Florida State's offense. And Miami really is like Daniel Cuvée centered. So I think personally, shut the fuck up, Matt. Put Matt Grissom's comment on. He's like, I like the part where Noah speaks. Yeah, fuck out of here. I think Oregon State here is the advantage. So Dax Whitney over Patrick Forbes. I just think the bats for Oregon State, like the bigger bats, are going to outshine what Louisville has, even though Louisville has a very dangerous offense that applies pressure from a lot of different sources. I'll finish the Coastal one and I'll let you go through both of them as well if that works. I think this Coastal Arizona game, like Coastal's minus 230 favorite. I think Coastal probably has the best weekend rotation in all three starters in this entire region. I mean, they're second in the ERA, second in the country in ERA. Probably going to go Cam Flukie game one. That's kind of what they've been doing, even though Morrison is their ace, Sun Belt pitcher of the year. Like Arizona being plus 190 with Kramkowski, who's a pitch to contact guy in a ballpark that favors a pitch to contact guy. It's a little bit too big. Like I think this is more of a 50-50 game. And
he's due for a bounce back start after just getting
exactly gave up 8 runs against UNC. I think Coastal probably wins this game, but like Arizona with the price they're getting it's a little disrespectful here. Kramkowski on a bounce back start. You have probably the best closer in the field right now, Tony Pluta, who's been just automatic. 14 saves, a 1.26 ERA. And the thing is, with Arizona, you have 3 guys that are just insane and can carry the lineup. Like one of them by themselves can win them a game. But when all 3 of them have a big game, it's really a tough out with Mason White, Summerhill, and Aaron Walton. And then now you have Adonis Guzman, who's kind of come on strong as of late as well. Ultimately, I think with Coastal's offense, it fits well in this ballpark because even though they're not a huge power team like they were a couple of years ago where they were like a top 10 offense, they pretty much flipped their DNA from a hit first to a pitch first team. I think with Coastal and Caden Bodine leading the charge here, the fact that they could go gap to gap and, they're pretty good with steals. They're in triple digits in steals this year. I think Coastal, just because of trusting their pitching front to back a little bit more, has, I would say, the slight edge here. But Arizona is definitely live. And like I was saying, 14-1 for them in an open field where they do have pitching and they have 3 guys that can really carry a team and propel them into the finals. It seems a little too long. I'd probably make Arizona a little bit closer to 8-1, maybe even 7.5.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going nearly as in depth as you did for a lot of these matchups, as I just haven't been able to have the time to do that work. So here's how I think it plays out. That Coastal Carolina-Arizona matchup is obviously, pretty tough. There is some value right now currently on the money line on Arizona, in my opinion. I still have to keep picking against the Wildcats, though. I've done it in the regional, in the super regional. I can't go with my boys, so I have to go against them. Did you ask what my ticket is?
Because you've been talking about Arizona.
120-1.
Oh, you took Arizona 120-1. Because you like them to win like them to win the Big 12 regular season. You were Arizona.
Yeah, they were my favorite price to win the national championship too.
Sometimes you get lucky, man. Sometimes the stars align for you, and we've seen better teams with easier paths fail in recent years.
Correct. So Arizona, I'm picking against them. That's what I've stuck with. So I think Coastal Carolina gets through that game, whether it's Morrison or Flukie on the mound. I do believe that's probably going to be Flukie against Kramkowski. Here's where I kind of get a little bit bold and maybe off the rails. I think Oregon State loses the first game. I think Louisville's got a very, very experienced offense. There are a lot of seniors and upperclassmen in that lineup, and they have jumped out early in the first game of the regional, first game of the super regional, and they popped the starting pitcher immediately. A freshman on the mound, whether it's Whitney or Kleinschmidt, I do believe it's probably Dax Whitney. I think Louisville's going to jump out and start hot early. I think Oregon State, how they've been the entire year, where, this is probably the team that has faced the most adversity out of the 8. Back up against the wall, just like in the regional. I think they make a run through the losers bracket, and they represent the left side of the bracket in the national championship. So I've got Coastal Carolina, Louisville in the 1-0 game. I think Coastal Carolina wins that game. Arizona, Oregon State as a loser bracket game. I'm going to Oregon State. I have to pick against Arizona. Oregon State against Louisville. I think the Beavers get back Louisville third time around. It would be Louisville's freshman Ethan Eberle. I think Oregon State's lineup would have their legs under them after a couple of games. I do think it's a very solid lineup for Oregon State. We saw how good it was during Game 3 against Florida State when they hit for a home run cycle in the first 3 innings of that game. Very, very impressive. And the first 2 games against left-handed pitching, they were kind of, I would say limited quite a bit early on. That third game against West Mendez, Mitch Canham made a couple of tweaks to that lineup to get another right-handed bat in there. And all of a sudden, he homers. There was Cannon who hit the homer. I think it was a 3-run bomb in the first inning to really, break that thing open, give them the early momentum. So then I think Oregon State up against Coastal Carolina, something tells me, gut feeling, Oregon State's going to beat them back-to-back games and get to the national championship.
Let me tell you something. You bring up a good point. Because we've seen this before. So it's with LSU. Wake Forest took a 2-0 lead in their side of the bracket, and LSU ends up rallying. If memory serves, because I had a big Wake Forest ticket that year, and I had a Florida ticket as well. So I don't remember if I ended up doing it or not, but I took a look. I think when LSU lost and they had a rally out of the losers bracket, they were somewhere along the lines of like 20-1 to win it all, like live, just because they were facing elimination every game and they had to win. I don't remember exactly what they had to win, like 2 or 3 games in a row. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly, but I think, especially when you consider the left side of the bracket, like Louisville's pitching is a problem after Forbes. Like Tucker Bivens, their closers turning starters. Like you don't really,
he doesn't go deep into the game.
You don't know what you're going to get. So. Eberle's like okay. They've also had some injuries. I don't think they came back from. Peter Michael, I don't think he's back. Right? Is he done for the year?
No, I think he is back. He's just
underperforming.
He's been totally phased out.
But like somebody like Louisville, say they took that 1-0 game, right? And say Arizona ends up taking that 1-0 game, because I think that's very possible. I think, honestly, it'd be a solid bet to take both Coastal and Oregon State live, because chances are they'd both be around like 15-1, if not bigger. Coastal has the pitching to get out of the losers bracket. And considering the fact that they would face either Louisville or Arizona should they continue. Like if Coastal loses, they get out of the losers bracket, and then they face the 2-0 team where they'd have to beat them a couple times. Louisville doesn't have enough pitching to contend with that, where Coastal does. And Coastal's got bullpen arms too. Like they have a deep bullpen this year. Arizona, I don't really trust. I mean, Kremkowski's been solid, but Kremkowski will be done. Smith Bailey's been solid this year. He's been a solid freshman. This is a guy we both like. We've bet him a lot this year. This is a guy I definitely think is a first-round caliber player. He's probably made first-rounder in a couple of years. But he's not been shut down all the way through. He's had some big starts, but he's also had some outings where, he hasn't lasted very long.
Yeah.
And their bullpen outside of Pluta, I mean, there's guys that you can take advantage of. So those two teams don't have enough pitching, in my opinion, in order to fight off out of the losers bracket, like say one of them goes 2-0 and then Coastal or Oregon State makes a run and pushes them to a fourth game. So I think it's very fair to say Coastal has the pitching to get out of that losers bracket should they drop the first game or even lose the second game.
Yeah.
And then Oregon State would have to burn Dax Whitney and Kleinschmidt in order to get to a game 3, assuming they win one of the first two. Segura is talented. It's just really been a mixed bag for him. But their bullpen is, I think, competitive enough to where like they could figure out a way to string it together. And in the event that they would have to face an Arizona or a Louisville with pitching staff that's towards the back end and probably running on fumes or maybe out of like legit quality options, I think their offense is going to be enough to be able to spot their pitchers some runs and really let them pitch to a lead. So that's why I think if one or both of Oregon State and Coastal lose, it's not a bad idea to take them. I'm not saying it's Louisville. It's Louisville. I'm not saying Louisville. I'm not from Arkansas. I say things how I say it. So
it is.
I'm not saying Louisville. Listen, he's worked with me long enough to know I pronounce things how I pronounce them. In conclusion, without Grissom's interruptions anymore, Coastal, Oregon State, should they lose one of the first two games, you're probably going to get them at least past 10-1, depending on where they lose, maybe even 20-1. I think it's a fair point to bet them because I do think they have enough juice to come out of the losers bracket, both of them.
1,000% agree with you. And before we get to the right side of the bracket, I do want to tell you guys about Underdog Fantasy because they are going long right now for the NBA Finals with their extender bonus. Hop in game 1, and the longer that the series goes, the bigger that the bonus will get. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. And you've heard of us talking about Rhythm before. They just dropped a game-changing feature that is new called Power Trends. These are AI-detected patterns where Rhythm's model has consistently won and has a high return on investment. Power Trends are updated daily and exclusive to Rhythm. There are no touts, no noise, just clean data-backed bets. Download the Rhythm app today, check out Power Trends, and start betting smarter because you know that we will be. Get your 7-day free trial today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is Rhythm spelled RITHMM. And the college baseball experience is brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every sport, including the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of different locations. Plus, it's easy to deposit, and you can get lightning-fast payouts using crypto. Head over to mybookie.ag with the promo code TCESGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. That is mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN. And we are back here on the college baseball experience. Myself, Noah Bieniek, joined alongside Johnny Venezia as we are previewing the College World Series and giving out our best predictions and projections and how you could possibly get a favorite pick or two to win the national championship, as we've got 8 teams remaining. We just talked about the left side of the bracket. That includes Coastal Carolina and Arizona and Oregon State and Louisville. Now let's talk about the right side of the bracket. Game 1 will be on Saturday, will be between UCLA, who is plus 900 to win it all, and Murray State, who is 45-1 to win it all and is the 4th ever 4 seed in Omaha, the College World Series. The second matchup, the night matchup, contains the 2 betting favorites to win the national championship, the 2 teams that everybody's been talking about the entire week as, you know, whoever wins this first game is probably going to win the Natty. Arkansas is plus 195 on DraftKings right now. Shop around for your best price. I would recommend you. And LSU is plus 230. Johnny, I'll let you lead off once again because I, again, have not been in the weeds handicapping the possibilities for this weekend. I basically have gut reactions and projections. Your thoughts on Arkansas LSU? Does that game determine the national championship? How do you see the right hand side of the bracket playing out? Who do you have playing for the Natty out of the right side? Who do you have them beating in the semifinal?
This is what you live for. LSU, Arkansas, two of the top teams all year. I mean, this is Omaha. This is playoff baseball here. This is what dreams are made of. It's almost unfortunate that one of these teams has to come out of the losers bracket, but I think in this particular case, LSU is the team I've been on since the preseason. Like LSU is a team I liked the most. A&M was a team I had the most liability, the most exposure with, I should say. Like LSU was 1, I would say A&M was 1A, Virginia was 3rd for me preseason. But the reason why I liked LSU all year was because their pitching was going to be 8 arms deep. Their lineup was going to be really good again. They have one of the best coaches in the country in Jay Johnson, who took them to the promised land 2 years ago. And they're throwing Cade Anderson. Cade Anderson is like the next Sugar Shane McClanahan. I mean, we'll talk about the jump that he's had. He goes from virtual unknown in the world of college baseball as a guy who threw a couple midweek games last year and, worked out of the pen primarily, but had a lot of talent. And Jay Johnson takes a gamble, throws him into the Friday roll, see what happens, and it's more than paid off for him. Now Cade Anderson goes from an unknown to a guy that's going to be a top 15, maybe top 10 pick, possibly a second or third arm off the board this summer, college arm at least. Anderson had a great year. We've seen him have a couple of bad outings, and the derivative of those bad outings is the home run ball. He's given up 15 bombs on the year, which is ideally not a great matchup against an Arkansas lineup that hit 124 homers this year. But the one benefit is for Cade Anderson. He's pitching at the Chuck. He's pitching at the Schwab. Omaha has a very big ballpark. Not impossible to hit it out. Players hit it out all the time. But
we've seen it more often over the last couple of years.
In comparison to most of these fields where a lot of teams play, a routine fly ball is not going to carry out. Like if you're going to hit it out in Omaha, you got to earn it. And even though Anderson does give up a lot of home runs, I mean, when he's on, it's electric. This is a guy who went into Oklahoma, complete game, shutty, 14 Ks, 135 pitches. He's a workhorse. He will go 130, 140 pitches. And when he's on, he is just impossible to square up. Cade Anderson would also be accompanied by some pretty good bullpen options. Like I think Chase Shores, since the transition to the pen, where he's allowed to go more max effort. It's unlocked his velo where he's gotten up to 101, 102. Zach Cowan's had a really good year overall. They have they have several options out of the pen that they can go to. And their offense, dude, it's really coming on strong lately. Like my big criticism of them this year, which we've talked about on this show, was they've just got these like inopportune times where they just get into lulls offensively and they just decide to stop hitting. But in the tournament so far, they've really stepped it up, and they've got so many sources of production, whether it's Derek Curiel is one of the best freshmen in the country, or Bear Jones, or it's Monster Milan, or Ethan Fry's just been on fire lately. Sorry, whoever it is for them. I really like what LSU has. And they're the underdog here against Arkansas, Zach Root. Now, Zach Root's a guy who I've talked about as somebody that I don't truly see as like a true Friday night SEC guy. But he's had a good year, and he's been really good as of late. Like Root has had a few starts this year where it's like, wow, now we see the potential in this kid, and including against Tennessee last weekend. I mean, he was phenomenal. Arkansas's deep bullpen has been something that was always going to be there for them. That's like the big handicap. And yes, their offense, 7 guys in double-digit home runs. They have, I think, 6 guys with a 300 average or better. Like, this is a heavyweight fight, but I think Cade Anderson is the advantage over Zach Root. I think the offense is going to be able to do just enough against Root. Like, I think this is going to be – sorry. Clear my throat. I think this is going to be a repeat of what happened earlier in the season. LSU took that series. It was a very tight series. That Friday night game, I think, was If I'm not mistaken, it was a 5-4 LSU decision in 10 innings. I see something like that happening. It's no wonder why it's a coin flip, but ultimately I'm going to go LSU here. It's been my pick all year to win the College World Series.
I'd like to interrupt you and ask the question because I hear everybody talking about Cade Anderson.
Sorry.
Cade Anderson is going to start this game. I haven't heard anything. And I know Jay Johnson's not announcing shit. Like, Jay Johnson's done this for years at LSU where he just doesn't announce starting pitchers. I don't think it's a shoo-in that Anderson's going to start. I think it's actually a better matchup that Anthony Ianson throws in this matchup. You look at Arkansas's performances outside of Creighton, who had a couple of contact right-handed pitchers, pitch to contact right-handers that just got thrown to the pasture by Arkansas. But North Dakota State's ace right-hander did all right against Arkansas. Marcus Phillips looked all right against Arkansas in the second time around against this team. Both of these teams, this is a game that I'm 100% eyeing the under because both of these offenses are very good, yet Zach Root being a left-handed pitcher, and I think Ianson goes. And even if he doesn't, Cade Anderson bouncing back after his worst start of the year, I think he should be fine. I like this to be an under, specifically on those split stats, though. Like, Arkansas's batting average is 50 points less. OPS is 100 points less against right-handed pitching than against left-handed pitching. For LSU, batting average is 40 points less against left-handed versus right-handed, and the OPS is 50 points less against left-handed versus right-handed. I think that, one, the stadium, and I was out there walking around today, it is windy as hell. I got to check the wind before I give out some plays, but this one feels like an under for sure. But I'm on LSU for what it's worth. I think LSU gets it done in this first game.
So I could easily see Jay Johnson go to Ianson. I mean, bro, he's got two aces. I mean, it's the best 1-2 combo in the country. Yeah. I mean, Anthony Ianson's I'm talking about him for the last month plus. It's like one of my biggest draft risers for 2025. I mean, he's going to have a Cade Horton-esque jump if he has one or two good starts in Omaha. Like, we're going to see him probably be a top 20 pick, maybe even higher if he looks like he's looked most of the year. And you bring up the splits, and that's important. That's something that I know you have access to. I have no problem. I have the same handicap with Ianson. I mean, Ianson has been unbelievable this year. And I think for me, when you're throwing either one of these guys, it's one of these rare opportunities where you can throw either your Friday or Saturday guy in this matchup, and I don't see much of a difference. Like, handicap-wise from LSU side, I don't see much of a difference because while they're two different pitchers and one's coming at you righty and one's coming at you lefty, the results has pretty much been the same. And in the case of Anthony Ianson, he's been a little bit more consistent, and he hasn't had as many of these blow-up outings as Anderson has had. So I wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, like I said, I think this is going to be a really close game again. I think the under is fair if the wind, is blowing in, and that's something that we have to confirm. But, I mean, again, I see this something along the lines of what it was in game one of the series earlier in the year. 5-4, one-run game. It's going to be high-pressure situation. Somebody's going to have to lock it down in the ninth.
So here's my bold prediction. I have Arkansas going 2 in barbecue. Wow. I think Murray State wins against UCLA. I just think that offense has been inevitable the entire postseason. They are probably the worst pitching staff just by the nature of the field this year. However, they've played pretty damn good teams. That first weekend was so impressive. You win basically a weekend series against Ole Miss at their home field. You beat them 2 or 3 games that you played them. Mixed in a 4th win against the Georgia Tech team that won the regular season in the ACC with 40-plus wins. I was super impressed by them in that weekend. Then they lose the game their ace pitches in against Duke. It was honestly kind of a backbreaking loss. As I was like watching that game and I was like, okay, so Murray's done because Duke's got all this left-handed pitching, and that's kind of their one hole that Ole Miss wanted to exploit against Murray later on in the regional. And all of a sudden, we saw the Murray State offense do what it did the previous weekend, which was just hit after hit after hit. They're dumping balls in over the shortstop and the second baseman. Then all of a sudden, they're hitting line drives out of the park at Jack Coombs Field. I'm still very, very impressed with Murray State. I think they are getting a win in Omaha this year, whether it's against UCLA or the loser of LSU Arkansas. Me personally, I have them beating UCLA. UCLA, though, is interesting because they have experience at the Chuck this year at Charles Schwab Field. They went 3-1 in the Big Ten tournament in the end of May. They only lost to Nebraska, who had a boatload of fans, for that Big Ten championship game. UCLA this time around will be prepared for that. I mean, Nebraska had like 8,000 fans at at Charles Schwab or something like that. Arkansas, LSU is going to provide the exact same thing for you. Plus, LSU, Arkansas, probably exerting a lot of resources into that first game, a lot of effort into trying to win that one. There could be a little bit of an emotional letdown. I have the loser of that game going to in barbecue, and I think it's going to be Arkansas. So I have UCLA, and then the winner's bracket game, LSU, Murray State. I'm going LSU. And then I have UCLA beating Murray State. I have Murray State beating UCLA again in the loser's bracket. LSU, Murray State regional or bracket final. I have LSU playing for the national championship, beating Murray State once again to get there. And LSU would have played 5 games against 4 seeds to play for the national championship.
So to touch on that game, Murray State, bro, they've been a cash cow, hitting those plus money winners for us. I'm not even taking them just because they're plus 210, which again, they're just getting disrespected. The sports books, time to recognize the racers, man. I mean, what else do they have to do? You talked about. I apologize. The account that you brought up, like number 1 difficulty. I mean, they had to get out of a very tough regional, and they had to go on the road to a Duke team it's got a lot of veteran presence. They got a guy like Ben Miller, who's in his 15th year, who could have completed a nursing and a doctorate degree at this point, and they rallied from losing the first game to winning the final 2. I mean, this team has so much charisma. They're just relentless. They don't give a fuck, dude. That's what I love about Murray State. This team is just like their grit, their grind. They will just batter you without mercy. Their offense has been their bread and butter all year, man. I mean, like obviously playing in the MVC, they don't get a lot of recognition throughout the year because a lot of people don't follow the MVC. It's just, especially for us bettors, you don't get a lot of opportunities during the year to be able to bet on this team. So when that happens, it kind of falls by the wayside. But I mean,
plus you're not going to bet on a team that you haven't watched.
Exactly. But this is what they do all year. This is what they've been doing, and they've just done it even better in the postseason. I mean, their offense is 5 guys over 300 average. They have 4 boppers with double-digit homers, which is like crazy because they've only hit 78 homers as a team. Jonathan Hogart.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to tip your cap to that guy. 22 homers. He had 2 homers in, I think it was game 3 in that series deciding game against Duke. He's batting 339. Like that's their bread and butter, man. That's the celery stick that stirs the spicy Bloody Mary. And there's just so many sources of production for Murray State that they're just going to come at you. And
I love that that's the drink that you
It's not a joke. This is an analogy. Or is it a metaphor?
I love that was the choice of the
I
drink.
love spicy Bloody Marys. But, listen, I think against UCLA's pitching, and we've talked about this, like UCLA was at the top of my list for regional hosts to be upset because I truly didn't believe in their legitimacy, combined with the fact that I thought they had a tough regional. Their draw was tough. And listen, UCLA has answered the call. But like they're sort of like the Walmart version of Arizona and Oregon State in the sense that their lineup is really driven by 3 players. I mean, now 4. Roman Martin's come on really strong, and he's kind of been that like Adonis Guzman version for UCLA. Rock Chalowski's the guy, man. Let me say this. Let me take a second. Rock Chalowski got cheated. He should have been a Golden Spikes finalist. And
Yes.
we talked about the Golden Spikes award and the prerequisites that it's pretty much the guide of typically how to bet it in most years. Like he's an underclassman, and typically underclassmen don't win, but I mean he had the best numbers. And I mean he's a 1-1 prospect potential for next year, and he got cheated. But he is the guy for this lineup. And for UCLA to do anything, he's got to do what he's done all year. But I mean, Salgado and Lavu, like they've been really good. Martin's come on strong lately. But then after that, it's really like, hey, who's going to step up for them? Like, is it West or is it somebody else? And the pitching, the problem I've had, like it's slow and steady with them. They've got options, but they don't have one guy that's truly dominant. Like Michael Barnett in the Friday role, he's been good the last 5 weeks, but before the tournament, he really hadn't faced anybody that's like too noteworthy. And the first game, here against Murray State seems like something that, he may have not seen in terms of just like a relentless offense that has not really been respected, and it's not being respected. The one question I have, though, is like Murray State's pitching. Nick Schutte, Isaac Silva are talented, but extremely inconsistent. And other than Kelman in the bullpen, I get worried about their options. Like somebody's got to step up. But I'm with you, man. I have Murray State. I'm picking them plus 210 in this game. One more note about UCLA's bullpen. They've got some arms. Love Wyland Moss, another first round potential in 27. I think he's eligible in 27. But I like Murray State to get out here. I think they're gonna win this game. And anytime you're getting Murray State north of 2-1, that's a bet, man. It's a bet on the run line. That's a bet on the money line. But I think
overs too.
Overs too.
Like
this is going to be the team that's going to be hitting them out in Omaha. This is going to be the team that's going to be hitting.
I don't even know if they're like hitting them out. They'll pound the gaps and they'll hit the doubles down.
No, I know,
line.
but Hogarth's going to be good for one multi-homer game this weekend. He's going to be good for one multi-homer game. But in any case, I'll say this about LSU Arkansas. I do think the loser of that game has what it takes to rally out of the loser's bracket. Arkansas's got deep pitching front to back. I get worried about their Sunday starter because like Shee's commanded the Sunday role for most of the year. It really hasn't been that good for him, and he hasn't really been going long in his outings. But like they basically –
and he's been battling the back.
And they basically grow – they have a farm like in their backyard where they just can pluck a guy that throws 97. Like it's just like it's like ripping up a vegetable from the ground. You just throw him in, he's throwing 97. So, but the game 3 starter for them is probably the big concern. And for LSU, man, I mean, if Casey Evans pitches the way he's pitched this year and the way he threw against Little Rock, I mean, I'm more than confident throwing him out, even as a freshman. Like, this kid's got balls. You saw what he did against Little Rock in the situation, gotten punched in the mouth coming in relief of Cowan.
Yeah.
But I think both of them have the opportunity to rally out of loser's bracket. So that's also the sentiment of the loser of this game 1 between LSU Arkansas, sort of like the Oregon State Coastal theory. I think both losers have a chance to rally out of that bracket. So you can take the loser at probably a pretty favorable price to win it all. Because ultimately, I think one of these two teams between LSU and Arkansas is most likely going to represent the right side of the bracket. I think it's going to be LSU like you. Give me LSU to win it all, man. And I
So you have LSU over Coastal?
Betting aside, I have LSU over Coastal. I think it's really interesting. But I think the reason why I'm picking Coastal, even though their offense isn't like real thumpers, but it fits well in this ballpark, the pitching. I think their pitching is is easily the best on that side, front to back. They have 3 legit starters. And even in, say they get to the finals and they face LSU, and even though they have 3 legit starters, I think LSU is going to find a way to get it done. I think the offense is going to be too much. I know Coastal proved their legitimacy last weekend by going on the road to one of the top lineups in the country in Auburn. I just think the experience and the postseason pedigree that they've had in recent years is what's going to be LSU's homecoming for a second title in 3 years. And by the way,
All right.
this is like the collection of teams that I've bet the last couple of years that couldn't get home. I had Arkansas last year, couldn't get home. I had Oregon State last year, couldn't get home. I had Coastal 2 years ago at 200-1, couldn't get home. I want to say I may have taken a ticket on Arizona last year, somewhere in like the 121. Maybe I took a sprinkle on them. So it's a collection of teams that couldn't get it done for me the last couple of years.
I honestly can't even remember my portfolio that deep.
I don't forget heartbreaks, Noah. I don't forget heartbreaks.
Turn the page. My College World Series final that I'm predicting is Oregon State through the losers bracket on the left side, LSU after playing 3 games on the right side. I think that sets up LSU great. If they go through the losers bracket, they may have to jumble some things around and really test the strength of their number 3, number 4 starters. Granted, they need to find them and have some confidence in them to get that done. But as of right now, I have them playing 2 games against Murray State and beating Arkansas to get to the final. So I think it sets them up great. How I see it going is I think that Oregon State is going to throw that freshman who throws on Friday, whether it's Whitney or Kleinschmidt, for the bracket final game in the semifinal. And then it'll be Kleinschmidt against somebody. And they're just not – it's going to be the Paul Skeens of 2023 where they used him to get into the finals. And it's not really smart to use him in the finals because he would be on such short rest. And they're really at a disadvantage there. Whereas LSU enters in.
I mean, it's a tough call, dude, because we've made a legitimate path for all 4 of these teams.
I think all 8 teams can win. They all went through the gauntlet of winning a regional. That's the exact same thing of a bracket in the College World Series. And then you win a super regional, which is the exact same thing of the College World Series finals, best of 3.
I'm talking about the left.
All
side.
8 teams have.
I'm talking about a team to emerge out of the left side, because each team has a path. Yeah. Like if certain thing goes their way, like if Louisville ends up winning game 1 against Oregon State, which you think that's going to happen, and then they end up facing Coastal. I mean, yeah, Tucker Biven against Jacob Morrison to be a big advantage Coastal, but if Morrison has an off day. I mean, we've seen stranger things happen so far this season or this postseason. Or if it's Louisville against Arizona, and then you got Raul. How do you say his last name?
Garazar, but I think it would be. I think Smith Bailey would get elevated into that because that would be.
I think honestly, like Arizona 14-1 though. It doesn't make sense. But this is the better in me. This is the better in me. Not. If you remove the betting aspect of it, I still think Coastal is worth it. I think Oregon State's worth it. So let me ask you this approach here. I mean, it's for me, but it's for anybody else. Would you wait? Because I know we talked about that at the losers bracket. Would you wait if you haven't gotten anything on Coastal or Oregon State, who are 6-1, 6.5-1, roughly? Would you bet one or both now, or would you wait to see if you get out of the losers bracket?
I would bet Coastal now because I think they control their own destiny the best with that good starting rotation. And if they fall in to the losers bracket, they could definitely get out. But I just think that I don't think they'll fall into the losers bracket until they get into the bracket final against. I have them Oregon State and just losing 2 in a row to the Beavers. Oregon State's got the experience of doing it once before, so I would probably talk myself into jumping in a Beavers ticket, and I would probably talk myself into jumping in on a Arkansas ticket, but nobody else on the right side. I don't know if I even believe that LSU would be able to come out of the loser bracket against these.
That's interesting. So maybe Coastal now, see if but then the problem is if Oregon State wins against Louisville, which they're expected to do, 6.5 to 1 probably ends up becoming like 4 to 1. And then there's still value because they have to win 2 more games to make it to the finals. Right. I almost honestly something, and I'm just like kind of talking out loud. I think maybe taking Coastal now at 6 to 1 and maybe like taking a half a unit on Oregon State just to get something down. And then if they lose, get back in on them. Because I do agree with you. I think ultimately it'll probably end up being Oregon State versus Coastal in that elimination game. Both teams have the path to get there. I think they're both live to win because once you get to the finals, now you're back to a normal weekend routine. But truthfully, for a betting perspective, I hope one of them lose first game. Honestly, I kind of hope Coastal loses first game because I do think with the pitching they have, they're going to be able to climb their way out. And if you can get like a 15 to 1 on them, if they drop the first game and say they play Louisville.
The only slight concern I have about Coastal is their offense isn't very high octane.
Which is that? Yeah.
Outside of that, yeah. So, Johnny, you have LSU over Coastal. I have LSU over Oregon State. Anything else that you would like to wrap up the show here before we get out?
Yep. So let's play that scenario out. Let's do because FanDuel is back online with the exact result. LSU over Coastal is 9.5 to 1 plus 950. LSU over Oregon State is 11 to 1.
Yeah, I don't know if I love them. I could see anybody out of the left side of the bracket get there, and I'm not 1,000% confident in LSU either.
It's a toss up this year. Honestly, let's just say fuck it. Let's bet Murray State at 42 to 1 to win the whole thing. Let's just do it. Let's do it.
I'm in.
They're going to score 15 runs a game. I'm in.
Yeah. All right. That's going to wrap up the show. I appreciate Johnny coming in once again. The door is open for him to join me on the nightly picks for the College World Series. I will be at the stadium, though, and I have no idea what it's all going to look like and how everything I'm going to be able to handle it with getting from the stadium back to my hotel room, getting ready to record the show. I know Johnny's got a bedtime, so I have no idea when those podcasts will begin and if he'll be on them. But I do appreciate you jumping on. Johnny, where can the people find you and your picks throughout the College World
Series? Follow me on Twitter at @JohnnyVTV, as you see on your screen here. Also on RotoWire, putting out all my picks. I'm working on the College World Series preview as we speak. That should be up tomorrow to give you a preview and an idea of what each team needs to do in order to make that run to glory. And my podcast, Breaking Bet, will be coming up this weekend with a nice little show talking about each game and the overall preview of the College World Series, Noah.
Love it. Yeah, and the people can follow me at NoahB77_. You can follow the show at TCE on SGPN. I'll be tweeting out all the picks that I'll be taking every single morning prior to the games beginning. That's where you can find all my picks. You can also find them at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/college baseball picks. If you Google college baseball picks, it'll be one of the first links that pop up as well. I appreciate all of you guys tuning in to this College World Series futures preview and projections. This has been the college baseball experience. You better start experiencing yours. And we are